All right, everybody, we're live after a week hiatus. How y'all doing? Let's get my banner going here. We got a good show packed for you tonight. Lots of stuff to talk about. We got Dustin Miller and Eric Mann, Bassin STL. Good night, everybody. Good day. Good evening.
How you guys doing?
Good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm happy to be home from work, relaxing at home now.
Yeah, we got some more weather coming in, huh?
Yeah, it was raining a little bit here today.
Where's home for you again, Dustin? Or D, shall I say?
I tried to put the name in and then it came up as D, but I go by D Miller 813 a lot, or 813 fishing kind of. But home is in Sparland, all the way up a little north of Peoria, Illinois.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. You guys talked about it on the your podcast a couple weekends ago about different places to go, and I was thinking, man, they're talking about where I work out of.
The Illinois River right up there, right?
Yeah, in Peoria.
Yeah.
I actually lived on the lake in Sparland Marina. If you go back to watch some of the old Bassmasters, they do 2 years on the Illinois River, and one of the guys comes into the lake and marina there.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah. But it's a mud hole for sure. I don't know if they'd want. We'd be better off staying on Rin.
How far is it for you when you fish the Great Lakes?
It depends. Like the Prairie du Chien one, that one's only about 3.5 hours for me, and that's like one of my favorite ones. And La Crosse is like right about 5 hours.
Yeah.
But I love it up there, man. The first time I went up there, I fell in love with it. I seen Jeff was interested in going, and I would so recommend it to anybody that's a bass fisherman.
After doing the regional we had up there and talking with the guys from Wisconsin and hearing a lot about it and watching some of the TV shows, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely on the travel list.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah, you got to come up sometime and check it out. My buddy Matt's been traveling up there. I did that one last year, and I wasn't doing it this year because I was going to try to move up to the front in the Illini, and it just didn't play out. So I decided to get in the back again, and it's not like I wasn't going to fish, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love it too much, so.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, Dustin. We just met. It was like 5 a.m. at Rend. I pull up, I get out, I start talking to a guy next to me. He was a new guy. I got him to join the channel, and Dustin comes strolling out of his sleeper pickup and says, "Hey, you sound familiar."
Yeah, I recognized your voice from your podcast. I was like, "Hey, man, that's that dude." And you were chatting everybody up, and like you came over and said hi, man. That's a big thing for me. If you come up and say hi to me, I'm gonna say hi back. But a lot of times I stay in my lane. You know, sometimes I don't. I've been doing this pretty much by myself until I met my buddy Matt Tinsman. You know, just traveling, staying in our trucks together, seeing guys that live close to me that were beating me on the trail, and I wanted to try to. Go up and congratulate them. And it turns out, we hang out and, we share campgrounds or meet each other at the ramp and, shoot the breeze until it's time to go to bed. But I'm a union carpenter, man. I got a full-time job, single. I mean, I do this. It's like, I used to race motocross and golf and all that other stuff, and I gave it all up when I finally figured out how to get into this. I've never been a big social media guy, but I definitely have to give credit where credit's due. Like if it wasn't for YouTube and the guys that do these channels like Phantom Fishing and stuff, I would have never learned how to do this, man. I never had any friends or anybody that knew how to get into this. And I always loved fishing. And once I realized how to do it and how close it was, man, I just dove in, and I've been doing it for 5 years now, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, you're like the rest of us. I mean, YouTube is just indispensable. In the old days, I watched Bassmaster TV on and off as a kid, but being by Lake Michigan, it was more about trout and salmon and maybe perch fishing in the spring and that. But now, I mean, I got Field and Stream. I got Field and Stream as a kid. Yeah, that's right. How about you, Eric? You watch Bassmasters as a kid?
Yeah, Bassmasters.
I mean, I grew up watching Bill dance. Who didn't grow up watching Bill dance every Saturday?
Right.
Or Jimmy Houston.
Yeah. I love that. Man. I would religiously try to catch that.
Yeah, my dad was a carpenter. I was the coolest kid in grade school here because we had a wood shop, and that's all kids wanted to do. I'm like, hey, let's go out and like ride bicycles or something. No, let's go to your dad's shop.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I think that's probably what got me into it as a kid. I used to remember going to school and saying I want to grow up to be a union carpenter. And now, I mean, I kind of wish I would have went a different direction. If I could do it all over again, I would, I'd probably be a marine biologist or something with wildlife. I would love to do that. That would be like, they always say, find what you love. And I think that would be, I would love to work with animals or in the marine world somewhere.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or bass.
So how long you've been tournament fishing?
This is my 5th year. And I've been doing the last 2.5, 3 years strictly out of the back of the pickup truck. No more hotels.
Yeah, that's a pretty brave endeavor. I thought about it, and I kind of, when I bought the truck, I just got my truck last year. I had a Highlander before that. I couldn't really lay down. I jumped in the back seat, said, oh, I could just jump in the back seat, or in the back. It's a short bed, but on an angle, because it's a short bed, because I kind of wanted the cab for hauling stuff inside here, kind of a trade-off with a giant truck here. But you got a little bed back there and a heater and everything, right?
Oh man, yeah. Well, being a carpenter, I built me a little prison cot back there and got me a shelf back there and threw in a couple batteries, and all my stuff goes in totes, and it works out pretty good. It brings in 2 things I love: camping and fishing. And
yeah,
it's really like, I mean, I could go across the country, and when I finally get that thing hooked up with solar panels on the top of it so it can charge my batteries while we're out fishing, I mean, I'll never look back.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember doing that with my dad. He always had a van because he is a carpenter, and he'd come home on Friday, and I'd have to help him carry all the tools out, put all our fishing gear, camping gear in, go, and then be dead as a doornail coming home on Sunday, having to load it all out and load the tools back in.
Oh man,
good old times.
That's what we're doing every weekend. And in the last year, I quit like leaving work early because they don't really like it. Because last year, I mean, I did 17 tournaments last year, and I just had to start working till noon on Friday, so I don't get to do a lot of practice, which kind of, it can suck sometimes. My buddy Matt's always hounding me, come on and go practice. I'm like, man, it's time off of work, and paying bills in this economy is just really tough for me. So I drive is 6 hours hardcore to get there, and then fish, and then drive home, man, because I got 2 dogs back here for me too, waiting on me.
Cool. Well, I talked to Dustin, at the last couple tournaments, got him on the agenda. Thanks for coming out. We were kicking around ideas the other day, and he shared an idea we've touched on, but we haven't really hit straight on, is the mental challenges of being out of the back of the boat. We're not in control. we got to control our own destiny. Even Tin Horse Monty came on like the first or second podcast or something and said, hey, the biggest thing is you can't get your head out of the game. Up into that last cast might be that one fish you need for that points fish. You can't pack it in early. And, I thought about that a lot. We've broached it a few times, but we haven't come right out and discussed it. So that was a great idea Dustin had, because I think, it's stuff we all have challenges with, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's crazy you bring up Gabe in that scenario, because I told you what happened at Shelbyville there. If it wasn't for Bill Knapp staying out there until the last second with me, I would have came in with a 0. But in the last 10 minutes, I had this color in my head all afternoon, and I was just stubborn, wouldn't change from, what works more in the summertime tournament there, which is the green pumpkin with the green flake. And man, I just kept thinking darker color because it was stormy and really cloudy and just never got any kind of light. And when I put that black with red in it on, and I just got those 2 bites in the last, literally, I pulled the second one over the gunnel and we were flying into the weigh-in.
And where was that at again? You give us the backstory a little bit, what you're talking about.
Oh, that was at Shelbyville, the first one here.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know if you were talking about the regional down there in Pickwick last year, because you talked about that too. Yeah, Shelbyville. I mean, yeah, it was tough. Eric and I zeroed once again. We're zipped for 2 Illini tournaments here. I just looked at the standings here. We're like, it goes from 40 points to like 220 or something. We're already 180 behind. I don't know. We were like 48 or 49 or something like that. Everyone with, 40 participation points. But, I was telling myself around noon, because usually by Shelbyville noon set, I'm like, no, man, you're still in it. It's overcast. You got a chance. I know you're behind a scoper, but, look at other targets in back of the boat. Keep your eye on the graph. Keep your eye on the prize. You know what I mean? And, I got more bites as the day went on, which I was surprised, not the right ones, but I think more and more later in the day about, don't get spun out, relax, think about what you're doing. If you need to take time to tie something on, because I've had people tell me, you fish faster as the day went on, and we talk about that, and you get more nervous and you get more uptight, and you just spiral.
Yeah, that
right, Eric? We were talking about that once too, right?
Oh, 100%. When I can't make the decisions, it gets like I get in my head a lot. We've talked about like wanting to switch to boater for that reason, and I went out this weekend and we caught fish at Wren. We had 1 keeper, caught some fish. I was excited that we caught some shorts at Wren. Like, I never catch shorts there. If I get a bite there, it's usually a keeper.
Oh, good bite, yeah.
Catch a couple, 13-inch and a few smaller ones. So that was, kind of good. Maybe the population's getting a little better. But yesterday we smoked them. I sent you the stuff on that. But so when I'm out there with them and they're making all the decisions, and in my head I'm going, maybe it's not the decision I would make. That's what gets me. Like, I can't, because then I don't know what to do, or I don't know,
Yep.
And last year I took probably too much tackle with me. So this year I tried to downsize, and now I feel like I'm almost limiting myself too much, because I'll get out there and go, oh, I wish I had, you think you grab everything you need, and then you get out there and you're like, damn, I wish I had this, so there's such a fine line there, and then that totally will get me spun out. If I can't, like, I don't know, get something going or feel like I'm doing in the right spot or doing the right things, or it would be like fishing behind me probably. There'd be people that would be like, what is this guy doing? In my head, I think I'm doing the right thing, and I'm sure they do too. So it's like you said though, you've got to really like tunnel vision and look for targets to throw at or something. You got to do something to try to keep in it.
I call it getting zombie. Once you get zombified back there, it's very hard to stay alert.
It's game over if you let that happen.
When you get 6 hours in and you haven't had a bite, because I've had so many tournaments, especially up here in our lakes, like, and so many of them have came in that 6 hour, and I've had a time where the fish has pulled on my hand 3 times, and in my brain I'm saying, man, you've had a bite, and it's like, are you going to set the hook? And it's like, I just look and I turn to my boater and I'm like, man, I just let that dude just almost pull my arm off. I mean, so it's staying with it. It's very key. I mean, big time. I was going to say something else about so last year I had this thing, what you were talking about, spinning out. I mean, I've had so many different thoughts going through my head because I'm an overthinker. So I'm back there constantly. I used to, so in my first year, man, I used to cycle through baits like constantly. And then I started thinking, are you just changing too much, you know? And then do you battle that mindset? Are you changing too much, or do you need to just lock a pole in your hand? Because the very first time I limited out is a day I just locked a whopper plopper in my hand, and I did not put that thing down. And I had my limit with 2 hours to spare, and I was like, man, this is how it's supposed to be. You know, not stressing in the 6 hour. I was sitting down eating food, which I rarely ever eat because I'm so worked up about getting that first keeper. And you know, my buddies told me, he's like, that's when you need to eat, man. When you're not thinking straight and stuff, you need to actually sit down and get a bite to eat. Maybe it'll help your brain. And I'm really bad at that because I won't stop fishing, man, until I get that fish. And a lot of times we get shorts and you got to throw them back. Like they're at Brand. I had one at 11 o'clock and I thought I was going to have my first keeper. And then it was a half-inch short. And I was like, man. And I went all the way until the last 10 minutes of my day. And I've never caught them one other time in Wisconsin, I've caught them as fast as I did there, where I literally in 3 casts, I had 2 fish in. So I was lucky. That was a miracle in the last 10 minutes. And that was all because Bill had a 0 and he just stuck it out there with me. He was just happy to be out there. I've been lucky this year where I've had really great boaters, where they just had awesome attitudes and just was happy to be fishing. I think everybody was just tired of the winter and was just really happy to be out fishing. You know?
Yep.
And it's
mental attitude of if you're clicking with your boater, or even when you're not, because that's the thing. Hey, if your boater's cool, like when I go with Jerry, it doesn't matter if we catch fish or not. We're having a great time. You get some people that don't talk a lot. You know, I've like usually younger guys at the front of the boat. They are just like freaking tunnel vision, right? And it's like, okay, well, all right, take a breath, do your own thing. That's okay. I remember kind of Alan making a comment about it, and I've seen some other comments about it. It's just like, people watch some of the best co-anglers. I don't even know they're in the back of the boat. They do their own thing. I don't even see them throw up on me or anything. They're going out the back of the boat, getting that same angle, and even talking about sometimes the boater comes up and scares the fish, right? And they swim out and they come back 30, 40 seconds later. Alan brought this up and someone else did on another video, where if you're going out the back of the boat, you actually have the better. You've got the same angle from the other way, and the fish has come back. He wasn't scared off from the boater in front if the boater's being a little loud. So, you got to take these little mental notes in your head, For sure. I mean, I've tried to listen to all of them really good guys since I've started, the guys which is Alan for sure, started watching Gabe and then my buddy Matt and that Parsons guy, he's won like 4 boats. That's the thing, I hear him talking, hear little things with guys like that who have won a lot and stuff, and they tell you like, they don't have the desire to move forward. They're happy being co-anglers, because they don't have the stress that those guys are going. So, I mean, it kind of, it's kind of a,
a catch-22 sometimes, like, because they do have a lot more responsibilities than we do. Like, I mean, I was going to move up this year and it instantly raised all my payments. I mean, doubled all my payments and gas and all that. So I know they're investing a lot in everything, and we are too. But I don't
Well,
know.
yeah. And kind of being a boater, that's one thing when people ask me about, why aren't I doing it? And I'm just like, oh man, I mean, most of the guys are practicing at least a day or two, taking that extra time off, that extra time every tournament, board hauling the boat around and everything. It's a lot of expense, a lot of added time, a lot more time away from home, from your family and stuff. And, it's kind of tough,
Yeah.
I like what James said here. He said, hey, we're supposed to know what to do. I'm just out fishing, having a good time. And you know what? You're always going to do better if you've got that attitude.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm trying to do this year is I'm really trying to enjoy it more. Like I took it really serious the last 4 years and I came up short from the All-American 3 years in a row now. And it's just with them changing to the 3 fish rule and everything, I just want to start enjoying it instead of burning myself out, I guess, because I'm pushing so hard with work and then trying to drive anywhere from 6 to 12 hours and then get back home. And so I just want to try to have more fun this year with it. But like, I think last year, talking about some of these things, like I had to physically start writing on my hand, saying that I heard on somebody else's podcast and then just how I used to get a little upset if I wasn't getting to do the things that I was comfortable doing, and I just I thought that, man, I want to go do this but I've had to really write on my hand, and I wrote it here because I would actually tell my boaters last year, like, if you don't make me feel uncomfortable, I'm not learning. So whatever you do, I don't care. I honestly want you to put me in a situation I haven't been in because I'm not learning if I'm not growing as an angler if I'm just going out there burning the crankbait, that's kind of like what I've always done. And like, since I've been doing this, I've learned so many techniques, since I went down to Pickwick and Gunnersville and Chickamauga and stuff, like Wisconsin up in the grass. Like them boys, they fish in that grass year round. And that's why they're all so good. I mean,
yeah, it's putting some more tools in the toolbox, which gives you a little more confidence, right? And we said it before, this is a bigger mind game than golf, and golf is a mind game, right?
Man, I truly think it's 90 to 95% mental. Like we can all throw a lure, we can all cast. It's truly about who can keep their. I mean, you just saw it this weekend in the Bassmasters down there in the Sabine River. Those guys were hurting. Them pros were wanting to be done with that tournament, especially after catching 10-pounders the week before. So I do think that's why you see a lot of guys, from this area like Trey and Drew and, them guys, a lot of good anglers from the Illini division like Alan Bernicki, because it is very tough. I mean, Kim Sapetti, she's a grinder, man. She's good for a fish at every tournament. I know that.
Yep.
I've had to try to learn to slow down and not change baits, and I've tried to tell myself to not. I need, especially here. Like I'm always fighting that. Do I change up or do I just have 3 baits that I stick with?
It's it's really tough from the back of the boat. I kind of think, when I think about timing, I think about that subject. Let's go down that rabbit hole a little bit here, where even if you whacked them the day before on a certain technique, or you got bites first thing in the morning, or you got bites on the upper side of the lake and moved or whatever, it can change. Those fish can be different. You got to go with that flow. And if you're fishing a bait for 15, 20 minutes, maybe make a color change. I think color change is maybe a little overrated. Some people swear by it. I mean, obviously watercolor, but if you kind of know what you're doing, you kind of know, hey, I want it to stand out a little bit from the water, not a lot, maybe make a change. But if you're not getting a bite or a nibble or something in 15 or 20 minutes, you need to change areas or you need to change a bait. 95% of water is dead. So if your boater's in a dead area, it almost doesn't matter. So you just got to realize that in a way. I remember Alan making a comment, if the boater's moving fast or moving slow, it's not about how many casts you're going to make. You got to pick and choose that exact right cast, the exact right time, because you're not going to have that many really good opportunities. You can't miss a one. You've got to be observant, and it's not about he didn't say it exactly that way, but that's what I got out of it. I don't know if you guys listened to that one. Yeah. I've gone back and I've listened to that podcast twice, and I'm due to listen to it again. Right before we have a tournament, I go back and listen to that again.
He's definitely one to watch. I mean, he is very, very good.
What do you think on that subject, Eric? What's your philosophy?
I think it's like you said, if you're in dead water, it's hard to. So I think more of it's confidence is if you get something in your hand that you're confident in and you get a bite, you're going to be locked in. Or I am. That's how I am. If I pick the right thing, and get a bite on it, like I'm good for the day just about. If I go 4 or 5 hours and we're not getting it, then it's the other way around. I can spin out. We were fishing that tournament Saturday, and she says our luck is either every bite we get's a keeper or we catch shorts.
Yep.
It's weird. I don't know what it is, but the tournaments we've done well, and we go out there and it's like whatever hits, it's a keeper. And then the tournaments we don't do good in, it's like you catch shorts. And I don't.
Was it just because you're a round keeper or you're round shorts?
I don't know. Is it? Or a bigger bait. So yesterday we was at Secret Lake, and we're closing in on. We were trying to get to 20 pounds for our best 5. Just a side thing, no tournament. And we were stuck at like 17 pounds, and my buddy was throwing a bigger Senko than what I was throwing. And I'm like, give me one of those bigger ones. We need a bigger bite. And dude, it wasn't 10 minutes, and I stuck at like a 4.6. Just switching to that bigger. I was catching 3 fish to his 1, throwing that smaller Senko, but they were all 2-pounders, and we needed a bigger bite. So it just, I don't know. It's confidence, And then I think if if you're catching shorts, maybe you go to the bigger bait. Maybe that's it. Or if you're not getting bites, downsize. But I think if you stick to something you're comfortable with, it's a lot better than going off the wall. I know I've seen a lot of people like fish tournaments and they show up and they got like stuff tied on. It's like they've probably never thrown or never caught a fish on it. I'm just like, you're not going to catch a fish on that. There's no way. It's just if you just stick to the basics and throw.
Oh, who's having an emergency? Is that you?
Yeah.
We're not supposed to get it till like 10 o'clock tonight. I know.
8:45.
My daughter's down in Rogers. What did it say?
Tornado warning at 8:40 till 8:45. Or.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So, but yeah, that's my thing is that like we were at is like we can throw Senkos there and catch them like every time, and I know that, and I think that's almost what you got to get to when you go to these tournaments. Once you fish them enough and know like, okay, I've caught fish on that. I think if you can like stick to that somehow and just like know that like it's gonna work, like it works better than that's like pre-fishing.
I would have thought that down in Kentucky the other weekend, man. I threw that Carolina rig I mean, I died with that thing. And through the day, I wound up putting a drop shot on, and I caught a short with that and caught something else. Man, I just couldn't get a keeper the other weekend. But man, that green pumpkin Carolina rig down there is usually money, especially when we're out there. We were out on the main lake areas. I mean, I should have had one. So who knows? That was the one I was a little like. That one got to me a little bit, sucked the wind out of my sails, because last year I left there with an 8th place, and this time I left with a big old 0. So it was the first one I didn't stay and hang out with this year. I was a little down and out after that one.
What did you think about it in hindsight? I always think about what I did right, what I should have done a little different. Uh-oh.
He's gone.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, James talking about that PMA, he's right. I mean, I watch a lot of that Gerald Swindle's PMA. Yep. I mean, and that's totally true. Especially if you lose a couple keys. Yeah, it's.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
We can't
okay. Yeah, the camera, it just went blank on me.
So
ever since I bought a new computer last month, I've been loading Intel drivers. Every week there's a new driver for this NVIDIA Intel board. Wonder how to get the camera back. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll mess with this. Hopefully it won't mess with you guys.
Going back to James's statement there, I try to read a lot of books about positive mindset or watch some Tony Robbins, or anytime you're getting down, like, man, the other weekend, Carl Jacobson and Brandon Polinick put out a really good podcast that talked about when you get those end of the day demons start creeping in, when you already start thinking about how you're going to tell the people on stage you didn't catch any bass, or you're going to text the people at home that you zeroed. And he's like, man, you got to get that stuff out of your head as quick as you can. And I was doing that at Shelbyville, and I was doing that down there in Kentucky. And, it's something I battled with a lot, like those demons that are always trying to creep in, man, when you're sucking out there.
Yeah, and I've had that this year really bad. I had all these new tournaments. I was sucking up all of them, and then another goose egg on Shelbyville. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know. I finally got out to do some pleasure fishing, and it was great. No pressure, just it went out on a nice day, and it just cured everything. No pressure, and I forgot. I'm getting too competitive. We're out here to have a good time. If we're not having a good time, we shouldn't be doing it. I'm like, I got to remember that next time I'm out there sucking it up in a tournament. Hey, I'm alive. I'm out doing what I want to do. Everything else is gravy, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to talk about is how do the other anglers out there handle that? Man, because I'm a really competitive person, in all the sports I ever did, racing and all that stuff, growing up, baseball, basketball, but this, man, I love tournament fishing, and I think it just brings that adrenaline when that clock don't stop ticking, or you catch those 2 bass in the last 10 minutes, I think one of my best tournaments ever was up in Prairie du Chien, and I went out with a veterinarian, and we pulled up to our first spot, and it's the only time in 5 casts I had 4 of them in the boat, and the only reason I had that other one is because it pulled off on my first cast, and I was like, oh man, that's what you talk about when you come up here. And that's very rare. That's out of whatever 47 events that's only happened one time for me, that really amazing. Like, wow, this is what they talk about when you roll up to those secret spots.
Yeah. Brad's asking, how can you read the text here, Dustin, or is it too small?
How do you guys think when a co is catching fish with a boater that's not? How much do you think it's thins the boater out also have learned not to get too cocky when I'm catching them. I definitely think it messes with them, Brad. I never try to be cocky or arrogant or anything. Like I'm usually their cheerleader as much as, but I'm definitely going to celebrate when I catch a fish. I mean, I'm happy, man. I've been working my butt off for that fish. But I'm always the guy that's trying to fist pump them or hype them up, because I do know, like, if they're not in a good mood, we're probably not going to have a good day. So
Absolutely.
he doesn't talk, because I'm not a big talker, but if they talk, I try to communicate with them. And if they want to be left alone, I'm completely fine with just being the net man and making sure I ask them every time. I always ask my boater to let me know a few minutes before we're going to leave, not just, hey, we're taking off. And because I don't want to be the guy that they're waiting on or whatever. And I just know that just makes for an easier, more comfortable day. When I'm sitting in my seat and I'm ready to get to the next place, I want to be respectful. I want to catch fish too, man. So let's get going. If this ain't working, let's move.
Yeah.
But I did have that happen to me on day one in Pickwick, man. The guy was super awesome to me once we got off the water, but he stared me down for the 40-minute ride back when he only had 2 fish and I had 4. And I lost 3 of them that day. And but I mean, they're out there working hard. I don't think it's anything else. I think that, most of them will ask me what I'm throwing or what I'm doing. I mean, I've never think that I'm out fishing them or anything, I think it's just luck, I'm just happen to be in the right thing and the big thing is I'm never trying to do the same thing they're doing ever. That's always talked about, is never doing the same thing. So I'm relentless about doing total polar opposites usually.
Unless they're really wacko.
Unless they're killing them. Like that day on that whopper plopper, my boater pulled in a limit and I was like, man, I left all my, because I had to drive all the way to Alabama. I left all my ploppers in the truck, and he dug in the bottom of his boat and found me a whopper plopper that was his girlfriend's. And it's actually up on my shelf because that was my favorite. First time I got a check. And first limit was what meant more than anything. Was like he dug that and gave that out, and after I caught my limit, and it was cool. Like that was an awesome day. And just like, I fished with James Jarvis down there in Paducah, and that guy was telling me to cast literally 2 feet away from him, and I'm like, I'm never gonna cast that close. I'll cast on the other side of the tree, but I'm never casting right next to you. I just don't feel comfortable doing it. But I'm never going to pull my bait out. Like I'm fishing to the very last second.
Oh yeah. Keeping your head in the game. So what do you think about, say your boater's got a limit. You still don't have a fish. It's like 1 o'clock. What's your mental secret to not get too lost out here? What are you thinking? What's your trick?
Well, I've had that happen to me a lot of times. I mean, I've had boaters throwing back 2 limits. He's already thrown back 2 limits. Why he's got a limit in the box? And I think Gerald Swindle calls it the horse lip. I'm back there like, oh man, what's it take? Like, so I don't know, man. I'll go through my tackle box, or I'll start asking them. I mean, and Gabe said the same thing, man. If you can be courteous and ask them, be respectful, like, any tips you can get from them, like, and I'm usually just gonna ask them, like, how deep are the fish? Like what depth range are they swimming at? Are they on the ground? Are they in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
Are they on top? And a lot of times I just try to go with my own intuition, man. I grew up bank fishing, so I was usually stuck in a spot that I could only stand on the side of the shore. So like I'm just grateful to be out on the back of the boat, getting to be in these tournaments, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I do take it a little personal. Is my thing is my thing I'm working on right now is to try to get rid of the personal side of it and get more enjoyment out of it, because I love fishing. It's my passion, man. I come home and I question that all the time. I hope I'm not making myself hate this. I never hope I hate this because of tournament fishing, but it's like one of those love-hate relationships, you know, like I've left a tournament and been so upset and think I'm going to break all my stuff. And by the time I'm 2 hours down the road, I'm already trying to figure out what I did wrong or what was I stubborn about. Fishing has taught me so much, like personal stuff in life, like just how to deal with the ups and downs of everything, man. Because when you get your face beat in or your teeth in over and over, when you put so much into this, it teaches you more than just fishing. It really does. It's crazy.
Yeah, it does. It humbles you, right?
It's changed my life for sure. And that's why I think I love it even more so, because just like the growth aspect. And I mean, I'm obviously one to win one of these things one day. And everybody's got the story. I feel like I'm just that one bite away. Like, I mean, this last regional, I came in with 4 fish and was in 5th, and I couldn't catch any fish the next 2 days. And man, I beat myself up. I still beat myself up sometimes about it. You got to move on. You got to put it behind you and just keep trudging forward. Like I want to enjoy the process. I am learning to try to enjoy the process. I thought that this was going to be like, oh, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do good. And man, you get humbled fast. You're right. There's a lot of good guys out there. And I'll tell you what, I've always said, these guys will take your lunch money and run and not think twice about it. But
yep, for sure.
There is nobody doing any handouts out there. I try not to get too spun out, but the competitiveness of fishing gets to me sometimes. Yeah, it does to me too, Brad. That's why I wanted to get ideas on just how people cope with that zero, man. Like, is it as easy as just some guys just say, oh, you just gotta think twice about it. And then I think I heard Drew Cook say the other weekend after he lost on his home lake, like he gives himself one day to pout about it or whatever.
That's a good strategy. Okay, I can bitch about it for one day. Then I got to man up, put the pants on, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will be honest. In my first couple of years, I wanted to try to play that blame game thing, and I quickly realized that, man, it's not on those guys at all. It is totally on me, and that's why I take it a little personal. I tell my boaters sometimes, I'm like, if you hear me back there mumbling, I am not angry with you ever. I'm so grateful to be out here. If anything, I'm back here tearing myself down because I really want to do good in these things. And when I'm struggling out there, those demons that come in, man, and it's all about like figuring out I'm just trying to learn the ways to get the negative out, you know.
And that's what Brad is saying here too. Even if we were at the front of the boat, even if we did pretty well or practice or whatever, even the hammers, no one's dominating. I mean, Jacob Wheeler did for a while, KVD did for a while. Drew Gills, man, he's always in the top 5, it seems here, but he doesn't win every time. He'll have a bad tournament where you don't even make the cut. You know what I mean? And you always say, what is the most amazing award out there. AOI is the most coveted because it, even on the boater side, and it's harder on our side as Coan, I think they'll admit it too, is to be consistent in this game. So you got to look at it, me being an engineer, I got to look at it in probabilities and statistics. It's overwhelming against you, right?
I mean, it's tough. There's a lot of guys out there that are hungry for this. I mean, ain't nobody can give it to you.
And guess what? If it was easy and you did it all the time, it's not going to be cool to win. It's not going to be such a big deal. It's not going to be that beautiful when you do it and that exciting as a lifetime. I won one. I was the best one day or one tournament. Okay, or I was AOY of the year.
I don't know. I think I could go on a pretty long run and appreciate it.
You could ride that wave for a while. So we're just all trying to get there. And you know what? Life is but the journey. You got to enjoy the journey, on the way up. And as we get older, on the way down.
Yeah. I mean, and that really is something I've been working on the past few years, is just trying to enjoy the process. And that's why I had to write on my wrist, if I'm not uncomfortable, I'm not learning, because it's part of that positive mindset. I've got to get that negative thinking out of there before it even starts, or you've lost. Some of these guys have already lost because they're still arguing and pouting about the regional last year. I don't know why so many people feel like they've got to tear down MLF all the time.
Right.
I mean, I'm so grateful to even have the platform to be able to get to do this. I mean,
you see how positive Alan is, and he's got to make some calls, right, wrong, or different, like any manager. He has such a positive attitude, man. It's amazing, and so much energy, right?
I mean, how else did you expect them to handle that? I mean, it wasn't their fault that there wasn't a dock in the water. I mean, it wasn't that bad to pull up on the right side over there. I mean, and we only had to get up an hour earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, it really wasn't. I took some of the most beautiful pictures of the sunset or the sunrise coming up those mornings with that bridge.
Over the town and the bridge. That was one of my pictures. Oh, it's just beautiful.
And I'll tell you what, that tournament didn't go in my favor. I just went from a 12th place down in Pickwick to travel all the way back home to an hour from my house to blank that regional. So
yeah.
And I'm not complaining about it. I just was complete. I had all the wrong stuff. I had the wrong colors. That place is only an hour and 20 minutes from my house, and I never fished over there until that event. And
I've never been up there till I didn't get any practice either. I'm going in cold, doing some research on videos online. Okay, that's what I did. That was my practice, right? Talking to a couple guys, you know what I mean? Getting a little history lesson, which is better than nothing, but not up to date.
So I was going to go back to a story or a podcast that I watched a long time ago, and it was with one of the winningest co-anglers ever. This guy had won $400,000. I think he was on Bradley Hallman's podcast a couple of years ago, and it's about the practicing thing. And he just talked about he doesn't get to practice a lot because he runs a business and he flies into these big events like the Toyotas and stuff. And just kind of changed the way I looked at thinking I had to be down there practicing, keeping that open mindset, is big for me, because we don't know what they're going to do. We have no idea. So I do try to strategize for the lake, do some kind of research or whatever, and put in there what I think I'm going to need. And I'll rig up my rods. But I think there's only been one event where I've had to cut off everything and retie up. Other than that, I'm usually pretty laid back with my fishing. I know what I want to do. Yep. I want to throw a jig, I throw an underspin, drag a Carolina rig, a wacky rig is huge for me. And I learned a lot of this as I've been fishing these past 5 years. Like, when I started, I want to say I thought I was a fisherman, but I found out quickly that really all I did was throw crankbaits, a flicker shad a lot. And now, man, frog is probably one of my top favorites. A jig is probably a really good favorite. I mean, I learned how to do the Carolina rig fishing with on Shelbyville, how powerful that was. And, I still didn't throw that for a while, for a couple, some of these techniques, you hear about it and you hear how good they are, and you always hear it's like the Ned rig. That's something I need to get off my butt and actually put some work into, because it's a debate that frustrates me a lot because I get hung up constantly. But man, you hear so many guys down there in Kentucky and even up here on our lakes, like the Ned rig. And I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with that. I'll drop shot or wacky rig before. I'm impatient, so my wacky rig's got to have a weighted wacky rig,
Yeah.
Just...
Yeah, I found that out on watch my Kentucky Lake video from last year. The guy's boat broke down, Dale Gorell, I think. And he's like, I'm just throwing a Ned rig. He just had 1 pole, 2 poles out with Ned rigs. And he taught me how to use Ned rigs, and it took me a while to catch on. And he had the Z-Man with the weed guard, and that was key, because I had some Ned rigs, but I kept getting hung up. No, it's got to be in the rocks, and you got to have the weed guard. I mean, okay, Shelbyville, you're not going to hit many rocks. You don't need a weed guard, but down there you did, because you were only going to catch fish if you're pulling it through the rocks. And he just said, count rocks. And I said, okay. And I took that technique, and I went and I practiced it every weekend for like the next 4 to 6 weeks to say, okay, I've got it in my arsenal. And not only do you have it in arsenal, what you said earlier is you've got to go out and catch fish on it yourself, so you have mental confidence in it. So you just can't go out there cold and say, oh, it looks like a Ned rig, but I haven't thrown one. You won't catch one. You just won't.
Right.
I'm doing the same thing right now with, I'll be done in a second, with the guy on Table Rock in tubes. And he was catching them like 10 to 1 of me, but I've been tubing, I've been researching tubes, I've been throwing the tubes, and now I'm catching them on a tube at my lake. No one throws a tube at my lake. So I'm like, okay, you've got to spend the time in the woodshed, like with your golf clubs. You go to the range. What are you going to do? I'm going to work on the 9-iron today. I'm going to work on the 3-iron today. I'm going to work on my driver today. You got to know every tool in the bag, and you got to have confidence in using it. And you only get that by putting in the homework, right?
For sure. I mean, and it's like the drop shot, huge. I mean, it took me a year or two to finally put in the work on that thing. I knew I wanted to learn it, and because those guys down there in Alabama were just killing them on that thing. And I come home, and now, I used to have that tied on at every tournament. Like it really is. And I've had a day on my home lake where I was fishing with the jig, and in the morning the jig bite was good, and then it stopped, and I just said, I'm going to try that shot. And within 2 casts, not only did I start catching fish again, but the quality of fish went up too. So it's just crazy. I'm guessing like later in the day, the sun getting at
and they kind of go out deeper. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, basically, most people think that bass basically eat mostly at night, and during the day they're pulling. We're coming in on morning thinking it's good. They're already pulling out.
Yeah.
But some fish kind of live shallow. Oh, you're saying something about the new lures and all that. I happened to be at Bass Pro today. I was selling an old tackle bag, and I just ran into these zoo dogs, these weedless top waters.
Oh, so man, those are the new.
I got one of those, and I got the popper perch, because our lakes are so dirty here. I'm not sure if you can see that. More like the spook that are weedless and they're plastic. Have you thrown any of these or seen guys throwing them?
I just seen one the other weekend in the store, and I was almost gonna buy it myself. I was like, I will be getting me one because I think that will be killer for like somewhere that is matted grass and like same place you're gonna throw your frog or somewhere, but having that because I do love a walking top water.
Yeah, me too.
Have
And
one
we're coming up on the season.
pull through the grass like that, like a frog, and not get stuck with those treble hooks is gonna be awesome. Have you ever tried
Yeah.
a fluke rig instead of using a top?
Yeah, I meant to get some last year, but didn't. And I just happened to be walking by and I went, oh, impulse purchase. It's like candy in the checkout aisle, right? Shiny thing.
Brad's got a good comment there. Brad, I actually watched a video with Mark Menendez for Down on Kentucky Lake about the donkey rig, and
The donkey rig. I saw that video too.
I tried that thing, and I never caught a fish on it, man. I didn't. It looks amazing in the water, though.
Yeah. 2 years ago, our super tournament was on Kentucky Lake in the Illini division. And that's when I had researched that video. And another guy from Indiana that I know, Kevin Jones, told me you got to throw that. He actually was at Ren, the super tournament the year before I tried it. I've gotten a couple of small ones, but not a bigger one yet. I've done better on a single fluke, but man, when you're there at the right time, when they want that schooling thing, it's like a mini Alabama rig. I know it's good. And, tying it right's kind of a hassle and keeping it in a tackle box. And it's like a co-angler with a Alabama rig. If, you can't see the scope and the sonar, you can get hung up, but it's a lot less weedless. But I think it's a good rig. And in fact, now that the shad spawn's starting, usually a donkey rig or that in the fall, but the fluke is a good bait now too, ain't it?
I mean, yeah, I would imagine it's gonna start coming into play. I mean, Brad would know that better than I would down there, but Brad's good at throwing that scrounger, though. He's the one that taught me about that.
Oh, scroungers, yeah. Oh, yeah. Aaron Martins. Didn't Aaron bring that back to life from a little known nothing?
Yeah, probably. I know that DC's been throwing it a lot lately.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they know so many techniques. It's just like, everyone's like, oh, that's a new technique. Oh no, people have been doing it for 30 years but forgot about it, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, going back to something you said before that Alan brought up again, and I haven't done, and I've got to overcome this mental thing as a co-angler, the wacky rig. The boater's usually moving quick, and how do you get on a target? Or Alan brought up the weighted one. I did buy some of those core tackle wacky shots. I haven't tried them out yet. That's another one. I'm like, okay, when I can throw those things underneath a dock, underneath a pontoon, or buy a really nice piece of cover, I do really well. But as a co-angler, the boater's always hitting those first. So I have tried it in the past as a co-angler. I haven't done well at it. I mean, how do you do well as a co-angler on a wacky?
That's
have you caught a lot of them?
Yeah, that's actually been one of my more successful baits for me. And I'm not saying I'm like winning the tournaments or anything, but that's what will get me my one or two fish. Like last year.
How do you pick targets? It's always so hard when you find targets and you got to take time for that thing to get down. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I use the weighted one, because it does speed it up a little. Because again, it's very hard for me to be. I don't know if I could ever be the guy that throws a weightless wacky or a weightless Cinco or anything. It's just, I don't know. That's why I struggle so much with the Ned rigs and some of the things like that are just everybody. It's weird because I used to think that you used to have to throw heavier, and Kim and all them, she's like, no, you gotta go lighter. You gotta go lighter. I'm like, what? I never feel like I don't like when I can't feel bottom sometimes, unless I'm actually just swimming a swim bait or an underspin or something like I don't know. It's really hard. That's why I'm really digging the Carolina rig, because I know it's got contact, but it's still getting up a little bit. So plus it brings me kind of back to my old school roots. It's almost just like catfishing, just for bass.
Yep. Yeah.
So I mean, I would love to get anyone else's intake on just how they keep themselves, from being disgruntled, or you know what I mean, like taking it too personal.
Yeah. Well, you got to realize you're kind of out of control. We're doing this for fun. We're doing something we love to do, right? It can't be work. We work all week.
Oh man, I know. I'm killing. I slave myself. I call it the modern slavery.
Yeah. Let's see here. Someone said earlier. Who was it here? Let's see here. I forgot who it was here. Someone said, "Hey, if I don't do well in the tournament, it was fate. It was destiny. I couldn't have changed it. It's the way the world is. I'm just along for the ride." And I thought that was a great comment. I've thought about that more. Now that I've been taking video, I'm like, okay, I'm not catching fish, but my boater's catching fish. I'm going to have a good video. I'm seeing how he's catching fish. I can go back and look at the video. And a lot of times I'm kind of realizing, oh, wait a second. There's a deer over there. Or there's a nice sunrise. Or, oh, that's a really nice picture of the clouds out on the bay here. And I'm thinking about it differently. I'm like, hey, I got another job out here. I'm kind of videographer of the day. Kind of, how do I journal about today? Or what am I going to talk about on this video? So I know not everyone does it, but like you said, taking a picture, just doing a social media picture that's not just the fish. I used to post fish all the time. People are like, hey, you're just posting the same picture, because they don't know. It looks the same to them. But, if you give them a different sunset or a different lake view, or, if you take that exposure in the morning of all the trailers in the dark, but the camera opens up and you get a little bit more of the sky, there's some really cool colors in those, like you were talking about.
Oh, yeah. Like this picture right up here, like I took one was taken in Gelconda my very first year, and I love that picture. And this other one's from Paducah with Alan. Man, I'll tell you what, Paducah puts off the most amazing sunrises in the morning when we're on that river. I don't know what it is about that spot, but I always stay in that.
I've got a couple awesome pictures from there too that are just fantastic.
I always stay at that hotel right there on the river there. That's like 5 minutes from the place that's got the burger joint in it. And they have live music out there, burger joint there, and the ramp is 3. That's one of the only times I'll stay out of my truck. I'll get a little luxury and stay in that place, because it's very nice. It's really close.
Brad's got another one here. Hey, I learned to do that too. I was going to bring that exact same thing up, Brad. And I wasn't, necessarily thinking about work. I joke about it on the boat, but a lot of times, things are getting a little tighter, tense or whatever. Okay. I always let the boater get up first and go do his thing. And sometimes I just sit there for a minute and I go, okay, don't just pick up a pole for any rhyme or reason and start throwing what's, the top pole. Okay. Where do we move to? What's the sonar look like? What's the water clarity here? What's he doing? And just take a mental break and just sit back and take a breath and think, okay, let me think before I just start going through those zombie motions again. Let me think about this. That's what I think.
I mean, that's really good advice, honestly. I mean, to just take a minute, to whether it's to talk to God for a minute, whether it's throw a quick prayer in there, and like you said, get a little observation of the surroundings, I guess, see if there's green, or I don't know. But I mean, it's hard because I'm constantly just trying to keep something in the water. You hear people like Brian New talk about, keeping something in the water constantly. Like he's always in the water before his boater was in the water. He's always last in there. He learned how to tie knots. And I'm doing that sometimes, and I'll have to tell my boater, don't worry about me. You just do your thing. As long as nothing flies out, I'm not going to try to be obnoxious, but I have, tied up as we're flying to the next spot, because there are times when, man, they are run and gun, and and when you get with those guys, it's a tough day. You better buckle in and be ready to go, because you are going to be very frustrated, because you will not feel like you're getting a moment to fish, and you got to make every single moment count. And then that also taught me another thing about down there in Kentucky. Like when I talked about younger guys, I drew a college kid straight out of, I think he was 19, and I fished with Trey when he was only 17, and Trey was amazing to fish with.
Oh, that's right. You said that. Where did you fish with him?
On Ren there, he won. I want to talk about this other kid real quick from Kentucky, just because he was going into actually he was in high school going into college, and it just taught me, because he was nonstop chasing fish, and I just learned, it just taught me to turn around backwards and throw over what they're chasing. You know what I mean? Like, instead of just throwing out in the abyss, like, they're staring at something. So 9 times out of 10, they're going to drag you right over what they are done fishing and that played out for me in Pickwick in the regional too. When my boater gave up on the fish and he took off, I literally could see the knot on the end of my spool. That's how much string I had. And that was the only way I could get bit. And that current was ripping so hard, man. And I'm not saying, I was literally like ripping. It's the only time I've normally, you drag your Carolina rig real slow. Like, I was ripping that thing like 3 foot at a time, and trying to create as much slack as I could, because he's moving, the current's moving. And every time I would get that thing to jump 3 or 4 foot and it would drop, man, I'd just get whacked. Then another one, and my boater turned around. It's like, how are you catching them? You're throwing it backwards. The current's going this way. You're not even doing it right. And I'm like, it sure looks like I'm doing it. That's why he was. But I was just doing what I learned on Kentucky Lake, and that is like, they're doing something up there. So instead of getting frustrated with what they're doing, man, like there's something out there. You just got to find it. And it's hard. It's a challenge when they are not talking to you, or they shut off their graphs or whatever. I just try it. When they do that, man, I just go, okay, I know how it is. I'm just going to turn around, and I'm focusing on myself, and I pray I have a good day, and we see how it goes. At the last BFL in Kentucky Lake, I lost 3 good fish and broke one off, but my co had a limit, just laughed it off and said, I guess it wasn't meant to be. And that's crazy, man, because I threw that Carolina rig all day, and I could not get them to buy it. The only thing I could get them to buy it on was that drop shot, and I think a swim bait, and I think maybe the other one was a shaky head, but they were all short. I couldn't get anything size. And normally, man, that Carolina rig, because I actually went up to a full size brush hog, because I know, in the Toyotas, everybody's throwing that small one right now. And that's what I had success on last year down there. But I tried to step it up, because they changed to 3 fish limit. And I told myself this year I was going to try to have fun and swing for, like, if I'm going to only get 3 fish, I'm trying to win it, man. I'm not just, of course, and I go back and forth. Do I just go out there with a little Ned rig and a drop shot or wacky rig to start off and hurry up and get 3 of them and then try for the big ones? Or, like, I'm not like Brad. I didn't get 30 fish in Shelbyville, man. Those 3 I had were like, I had 2 shorts and the 2 I had at the very end. So like we were just not around. But the Bill was an amazing guy to fish with, and that's what I kept telling myself. His wife had passed away recently, and I told him, man, I was just happy that he was out there, because it made me realize, like, we all love this so much, and I hope when something like that happens to me, that fishing can, it saved me in other aspects of life. I hope it can dig me out. Like, I want to be grateful like him to just be out there fishing. And it was awesome. He made it awesome. And we were both about to zero and all this. And he was so happy for me. Like, he was so happy. He's like, I'm so glad you caught a fish right at the last second.
That's awesome. Bill who?
His name was Bill Knapp.
Bill Knapp.
He was a really awesome boater. He's from somewhere up by Chicago. I don't remember exactly where he's from.
Yeah.
Is that the
Holiday Inn you're talking about with the burgers right by Paducah there? I think that was from that conversation.
I think so. It's the one with the green lighting.
Yeah, right on the river. Yeah, that's the Holiday Inn. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that place. Yeah, Trey. Yeah, to go back to Trey. So I drew Trey when he was only 17 on Ren, and I regret the fact that I didn't get a picture with him, because I told him that day, I was like, man, kid, you're amazing. You're going to go somewhere. You're going to make the, this is before he even tried for the Open. So I was like, you're going to make the Bassmasters someday. And nobody knew he was going to make it in 1 year and do what he's been doing. But you know, everybody says things about him or puts him down, and I'll be the first person to say he treated me like I was in his boat or my boat.
I've heard that from a few other people.
Like I was in my boat, and he was very upfront about, hey, there are going to be 2 places we're going to pull into today, and you're not going to have a shot to fish, but just give me a minute to throw up in there and this and that.
And his dirt shallow jig fishing, right?
And that's another thing too. Everybody always says, "Oh, all he is a scoper." And I'm like, I'm gonna tell you. I've told everybody I've been with. I said, I'm sorry to tell you, but he beat you in less than 4 foot of water all day long, because I netted every one of those fish, and 3 out of the 5 were wrapped up in bushes and trees, to where I was hanging off the boat trying to get them out of, because we couldn't get up to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, he can catch him, and he's a very, very nice kid, and I'm happy as hell to see him doing as good as he is, because I got to be.
Yeah, me too.
And he changed my mindset on, you know, in my second year, I used to think that you had to, I need to get that got the best stats, and I want to be with the greatest guys. And he told me straight up, he's like, man, he goes, you got a better chance of getting somebody that is right kind of in the middle, that is around fish, can get you around fish, but doesn't always catch them. I'm like, yeah, I was like, man, you're right. It's like you get those guys that are vacuum cleaners, and I had that on the Mississippi River up there in the Quad Cities on day 2. I drew a guy that was winning the All-American. He told me on Nickajack, he told me, go back and watch it. He goes, I blew up 4 boats that day. He's like, that's when they used to make you drive their boats. And he goes, you'll see I'm driving a different boat 4 different times on the last day. And that dude's, I mean, he literally, if there was a twig or anything, a rock, anything, I was like, man, you're a vacuum cleaner, dude. And he's like, oh, I'm giving you something. I'm like, dude, I'm trying. I'm throwing all the way over there as far back the trend. The only one I got was so far back. And it was a big one. And then I got about halfway and it come off on me. And I was like, dang.
But I bet you learned some good tips from him watching what he was doing, huh?
Oh, yeah. And he was another guy that was after he seen me, that I told him, I was like, dang it, man, I didn't have the right colors or nothing, man. I didn't bring the black and blues and all the good. I didn't bring the good stuff, I guess. I had stuff for down on the Tennessee River, not the Mississippi River up here. And I was off. So he gave me a bait, man. And that's what, as soon as he gave me that jig trailer, I mean, I started catching some, but I just couldn't get any keepers. But it was fun. You know, it's amazing getting to be with somebody like that. Like, I got to be in the boat with Kyle Cortiana when I did the Toyotas. I've been with
he just won one.
Yeah, he's been he's been having a really great year this year. Really great year. I'm happy for him. Him and his wife were really nice. They were amazing. I was sleeping in my truck down there at Lewis Smith when it was 20 degrees out, and his wife was like, "Oh my God, you could stay in the camper." And I'm like, "I'm good. I'm good. I got a heater, and I'm actually going to get a hotel room one of the nights, you know." So I was good. But they were awesome people.
Cool.
They got the life that I want someday. Fifth wheel camper, traveling.
Yeah.
Just going to tournament to tournament. I do try.
So let's see here. You're fishing Illini. What else are you fishing this year? Anything?
LBL. Yeah, I really want
LBL?
to throw in a couple. Like I wanted to do the Prairie du Chien one, which is coming up, which I might.
When is that one? I was thinking
It's
about a road
actually
trip
like
myself.
in 2 weeks, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Because I think Shelbyville's like the 21st of June or something like that. Our next one here, right?
Yeah, I got the calendar right up there somewhere. I know I go back to Kentucky first, and then Shelbyville. They're back-to-back tournaments again.
Yeah.
No,
June 21st. I just looked it up.
Last year I did 3 divisions, and this year I was only going to do 2 because I was going to try to do the boater thing. And when that didn't pan out, I just, with everything, buying the boat and everything kept me from having that extra money because I dabbled in one Toyota, and then 3 divisions last year and 2 regionals. Well, this year I'm just going to do 2 divisions and 2 regionals, hopefully. But I don't know. I'm struggling in the LBL this year, where I was sitting in 9th place after I left last year.
It's a tough division.
So yeah, I mean that lake's got me this year so far. I only caught 1 in the first one and none in the second one. So I'm really hoping this next one's going to be awesome. And then back to Shelbyville, which, I used to like camping at the Coon Creek there a lot, but with my truck, man, this time I just stayed right at the ramp. I mean, that's a gorgeous view right there. And
oh yeah,
that's the luxury I do like, but just not having to hassle with the traffic jams getting into these places, man.
Yeah, just sit there and park and you're there, right?
Yeah. Well, when you showed up, I was just probably.
How was your alarm?
Well, no, I already went down and went and used the restroom and all that stuff, and probably came back to my truck and yeah. So, but it's nice, I've had guys offer, and I probably should take more guys up on that sometimes, to socialize more, but that's hard to pass the convenience of just jumping out of the truck, man, and being like, I'm here,
yeah.
I
got up at 2:30 that morning to drive two hours and fill up the tank, 15 minutes, and get there at 5.
I don't know how
you got to sleep.
Yeah, I don't know how you could do it. That's like Matt drove down from Peoria all the way to Shelbyville, and I was like, dude, there's no way I'm driving 2 hours in the morning.
Yeah, my boater buddy, his co-angler, he came up from that way. It was a 3-hour drive. He was on the road at 2 a.m.
Wow.
And then you got to drive. You can do it and get down there, but after a day of fishing, especially, it was wet and cold all day. By the time, I just went to my place and painted down the street. First thing I did, hot shower, right?
Yeah. Man, that Rand Lake one was cold though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been a minute, but I think it was colder than.
It was like 35 or something when we took off.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's right. Because the ride that morning
was chilly. That first run,
Jeremy,
my face was red for 3 days.
Yeah, Jeremy too. He was like, "Man, that was a little colder," and I thought, I was like, "Yeah, it was."
Yeah. All right, everybody, we're coming up on 9 here. Let's pull it in for a close. If you got a last question or so for Dustin here, I was just I started editing Shelby Practice with Jerry Hall. I got to practice with him the day before. We were doing a kind of on the water breakdown and just a lot of cool thoughts about how to, practice and what we were breaking down and how we're doing that here. I hope to get that one out this week, and it'll be, I'll target Shelbyville for the week after that. I got another video with I met a buddy on my lake down in Pana. He's actually in first place in the Pana Bass Club through 2 tournaments, and he actually went down to Vandalia and won that tournament. He is on the roll. So I got some nice video on that one too.
I saw your tube video. That was a good one.
Yeah, he was really getting them, and I've been working on that, and I was trying that stupid tube rig, and I just realized, oh, wait a second, you really need a different type of hook with the EWG with the bigger bend to do that correctly, and it needs to be correctly sized for the tube size he had too here. So,
yeah, my buddy Matt, he just won that one up in La Crosse throwing a tube, but he's adamant that he's always getting on me to throw that thing, and it's something I probably need to throw more of that I don't throw enough of. And I know Gabe also mentions it a lot. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's one of the, and I was with another guy up there. He threw a lot in a Texas rig instead of like stupid tube way, and like
Texas rig too, flipping.
Yeah, like he was flipping it into thick bushes and stuff.
Yeah.
And he actually showed me a technique about it that I'd never seen before. It's more of like a screw lock deal into a hook, and he bought these from some company. He said he had to order them, but they were, I could see how they would be perfectly reedless and work amazing. He caught a big old smallmouth on it.
Yeah, I got a 5-pounder on a tube on Saturday.
Wow.
I just they can skip like all but geez here. I mean, and it was under a dock. She's probably on a bed about getting ready to go, and I didn't get it on video because I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna. It's nice. I'm just gonna go fishing. I just wanna grab a beer and go out in the sunlight and enjoy it. Okay, I'm gonna try the tube thing. I just skipped that thing underneath there, and I felt the bluegill kind of, when they're peck, 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 you can kind of tell, and I just yanked it away from it, and then it starts swimming off. I'm like, it's that damn bluegill again. But I pull it, and I'm like, oh my God, catfish, but it wasn't a catfish. I wish I had it on video. But, back to, trying those techniques, not a lot of people throw them around here or throw them, right. And you can catch a fish on anything. Some people say if they're hungry and color or whatnot. But, I think there's something a little bit unique about the action of a tube. It really looks like a little fish, a little bluegill, the way you move it and the way it kind of glides through the water, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not big on them, so I don't really have a lot of experience with it. I have the one time I did throw one up at my home lake, I did catch a bass on it, and I don't know. It's just one of those things that I need to put more time in with, just like the Ned rig, just to grow as an angler, to give yourself that confidence. Like you said, I always say, don't try to learn something during the tournament, get your confidence before you get there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I lost a nice one on the tube when we were down there, but I just saw, man, he was catching net. I earned my net man keep, man. I got about a buck of net that day.
Well, one of these days I want to make it down there to I have not got to go to Table Rock
it's beautiful.
I went down to the Ozarks for a Toyota, and I've never got to go down to Table Rock yet, and I want to make it down there.
Oh yeah.
Just like there's a couple more over, like I haven't been to Cherokee. I haven't been to the Carolinas. I have like 3 dream trips that I want to work on getting to, and that is Lake Fork.
Yeah. Bucket list.
Thousand Islands. And then I want to go down.
Where is that Thousand Islands? Is that in Carolina somewhere?
No, I think that's up in New York. That's up there.
Yeah. On the Canadian border, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the Thousand Islands. When you watch videos of it on TV or the Bassmaster, it just looks absolutely gorgeous. That just that water flowing through there, it just looks amazing. Plus, I'm sure you catch a ton of fish.
Yeah, I've seen on the on the link up page a bunch of guys, the Northern Toyotas, they're looking for cows big time.
Yeah, it won't be me doing the Toyotas this year. Maybe next year. I'm telling you what though, I want to make it back to the Toyota so bad. I kind of take that as like for anybody that's been doing the the BFLs for a while, or I kind of look at it as like just like college, man, or anything else.
Yeah.
If you want to experience something that will blow your mind, honestly, the amount of guys that show up, and then just the next level of fishing will blow your mind, honestly, from our BFLs, which right now we're pulling in 60. You go from 60 guys to 260 guys. And just like what you're fishing, the guys you're fishing, the level of what they're doing, everything, it's mind blowing. And you have to spend a little bit of money to get a little bit of knowledge in this, And I think I want to learn. I've been on this big kick about trying to learn as much as I possibly can. That's why I'm also not super in a big hurry to move to the front yet. I mean, obviously I want to do that, and that's the goal. But man, I want to fish with as many dudes that are doing this as I can too. Like, because and you're just going to learn more spots. You're going to learn different techniques. And when I stop trying to learn, what's the point of being out there, right?
Right.
I have the tendencies to be a little stubborn sometimes, and I have to remind myself, like, open-minded. It's like this Ned rig. I'll go back to that because I'm struggling to commit to that bait when I know it's as good and deadly. Like, I could probably be way ahead of the curve with something like that, where it slows you down or it's more finessey for out of the back. And you don't always have to be cranking a crankbait is kind of what I'm getting at. You have to try to not be so stubborn, I guess. And you got
to be a little more versatile, right?
You got to be okay with making yourself uncomfortable. Like, I watch a lot of David Goggins and stuff like that, like, or Jocko when he says, "Oh, you didn't win? Good." You know what I mean? He's like, "Oh, you sucked? Good." He's like, I mean, and that's where we're getting at. Like, I know I left the last tournament really bummed out, but when you stop being bummed out and you get over it and you remember that we love this and that there's no way I'm quitting this no matter what. Like, I have girlfriends, me, because I'm spending 14 hours practicing, and then I'm on the road, and then it's like, this is a very selfish sport for sure. And but I love it. So that's where I don't want to wind up hating this. I got to find that perfect blend. And I think that's where, like, the part of the puzzle I feel like I'm still lacking. Like, I just don't, like, you know how you're like right on that brink of breaking through or whatever that may be to some people. I just feel like I'm missing a piece of the puzzle. And when I find that piece of the puzzle, then hopefully I can be the guy that is always standing in the check line, hopefully.
Yeah. Or just like top 10s, top 20s. I mean, I'm feeling the same thing. I was 17 and 25 the last 2 years in the line, and now I'm stinking basically dead last. But I got to just chalk it up to I was there. I was, I didn't, Ren was red, and I caught him on Shelbyville, but a bunch of 13 inchers. So, and smaller, but at least I got some. So I'm not as frustrated. If I would have gone to Shelbyville and like had no bites, well, okay, maybe I just had a boater that wasn't on fish. I mean, definitely 90% of Shelby's dead. 95, 97% of Shelby's dead on any one day.
See,
So,
I don't know. I mean, it's just hard and I don't know. Maybe that's true. I don't have the forward-facing sonar to see what all those guys are saying, or if it is. Or I've just always thought, like, man, there's a fish out in that water somewhere. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah.
I'm gonna.
Well, what you'll see with the sonars is if there's no structure or cover, there's not fish most all the time. So if you're not tossing by stumps or laydowns or next to riprap or or points or shell beds or something, river channels intersecting stuff, if you're just out there on flat bottom or whatever, that they're not there. Now, we were out on the flat on Shelbyville. I hadn't been before, and I didn't realize there's a bunch of stumps out there. Not a lot. It wasn't a stump field, but every time you pull up to a stump, he look at it with his sonar, and even if you see a fish or not, sometimes you can't even see them with forward facing. They're out there on structure. Think of fish in a tank. Where do they go? They go into the little hidey holes, right? Sometimes they're out and about, but mainly they're fighting for the hidey holes, right?
Right. Well, and I think that's hopefully where before we move up or whatever, I want, understanding patterns, I guess, or like bass movement, migration patterns and like how they use the highways that we're not able to see that are
Yeah,
down.
ditches and creeks. Yeah.
And I mean, and I'm guessing, just, we have to think about that stuff just as much, when you're out there looking at the contours of like
Mm-hmm.
the especially Shelbyville with all them points in Kentucky Lake, like how far does that come out in the water? Like, that's why I'm usually, I try never to fish forward a lot. Like I'm very hesitant sometimes, and I know it probably hinders me sometimes. Unless I'll feel a guy out sometimes, I guess. Like if I can match the pace of the boat, because I'll get real shit, because I've always, there's that imaginary line, and I don't want to seem like I'm ever trying to cast forward. But if we're going Mach 10,
If you gotta.
that was the hardest
Yeah.
thing for me to learn
Yeah.
as a co-angler. My first year or two was, God, my first year, I lost so many baits because I couldn't stop letting it get hung up in the rocks, man. I didn't realize how fast, they're nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
Guys are nonstop. It's a luxury anymore if you get a guy that is, going slow on the shoreline. And when you get that, you better take full advantage of it. You better be committed to take every opportunity when you get close enough to somewhere like Alan was saying, man, and I've had those mistakes where, as a co-angler, we don't get to take all the rods and stuff like those guys.
Yeah.
30 rods where they can just pull something out. It's already tied up. It's hard, sometimes because I don't like to take more than, I really hate taking more than 8 because then I start getting really just frustrated back there. And if I can get down to 7 and 6, even then it sometimes can be aggravating. But when my buddy is good for taking like 11 or 12, and I'm like, I don't know how you do it, man.
Oh my God, as a co-angler, that's ridiculous. I can't handle. I hate taking 6.
It's hard.
4,
I mean, and I'm the guy.
casters and 2 spinnings, the most I'll ever take, and I hate even taking that many.
I've had to learn to keep my rod socks on, man, and I twist my line. I do all the tricks and stuff, but I've broken so many rods. Like I think as a co-angler, at Shelbyville, I busted 3 rods, man. Just
busted 3 rods? How?
Well, 3 eyes broke off. Well, one of them, the Carolina rig, I hit with the weight and it broke off. But 2 of them, my open face, and we're crunching them together in and out of our vehicles, into their vehicles.
Yeah.
Things get smashed down, and then I go to smash it back. And then after about 8 times of that, they just ding. So
yeah, I noticed the eyes on spinning rod take a beating as a co-angler.
I really want to invest into getting some of those neoprene ones for my if anybody knows a good, like I know Live has some nicer ones, or Six Sense I think has some nice.
Six Sense ones are pretty good too, and they supposedly float. I didn't throw my rod in the water, but they say they float.
I think those, I really want to try to get some of them for my spinning rods, because those are the ones I seem to be breaking a lot.
Yep, the eyes on the spinning rods, because they're
Yeah,
so
those-
big and bulky.
Yeah, well, they get smashed, and then when you try to,
Yeah.
they just, and it's not really the bait caster ones are fine. I could keep those, the regular mesh looking ones, but I really do want to try to get some of those.
Right. All right, guys. Well, it's 9:06. I know some guys are trying to not go too late and get up early, and we appreciate it. And Dustin, I'd like to thank you. You've been a great guest here. Lots to talk about. It was a great subject. I'm sure one we can hit again here. I don't got anyone lined up for next week yet. I'm still trying to get Levi Cole. I fished with him a few years ago. He's from Illinois. He's a busy boy, but he said he wants to do one of the shows, but it's just got to work out with his schedule here. So, that'll be a nice treat.
Yeah, you should reach out to my buddy Matt Tinsman. He's been a coach for 5+ years. He was a guy that I was trying to catch up to, and
yep,
he just won the one up in lacrosse. He's an excellent fisher.
Did he?
He works at
Yeah, I met him down at Shelbyville. You introduced us, and he seemed very much like he wants to come on. I was going to mention that.
He's good at talking. He's good at talking, like, because he deals with the public at Bass Pro, man. So he
works there?
He knows his equipment. He's very, very knowledgeable. So I would definitely give him a shot. He would probably be very happy to talk.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
And then I noticed a few more channel subscribers, a couple more from the Illini division here that are doing pretty well too here. So I'm going to try and reach out to a couple of those guys too here.
Awesome.
And any suggestions that you guys have, forward them to me.
Well, I want to thank you, Jeff, for having me on, and I want to thank some guys that I got that helping me this year with the Moon Pie Outdoors. If you guys wanted to go check them out, I mean, he specializes in trying to get youth kids out and veterans and disabled people. So go check.
Oh, that's awesome.
They do guide trips down in Southern Illinois too. So for muskies and stuff, I know he's got a couple of guides down there. And
are they looking for like donations of like old rods and reels or tackle or anything like that?
I don't know. That'd be something I mean, you could reach out to Moon Pie Outdoors LLC and check them out. I mean,
okay,
they're a great company, great group of guys. They're anybody that wants to try to help out the veterans and the disabled and specialize in autism. They're a great group of guys, and they're helping me. And one of my friends, Cochran's second generation concrete and excavating. So I just want to thank you guys for having me on, man. It's been a real treat talking tonight.
Yeah,
can't wait to see you guys at the next one.
Yeah, me too. Every time, we get a little more people, we get a little more impact. I meet some more people. I say it all the time. Come up, say hi to Dustin, say hi to me, have a chat.
Yeah, definitely come up and say something, man, because I mean, I'm shy. I'm not a huge talker. So, but we obviously all love fishing, and I'm definitely trying to make some friends out there. So, and Brad was, I met Brad down at the Toyota. He was awesome enough to chat with me and tell me a bunch of baits down there. He lived down there, so I appreciate that. And that's how I met Matt too, man. Just walking up, and now we camp together when we go on these
awesome
2-day and 3-day events. So it's cool, man, meeting people out there, and it's been awesome.
It is.
Well, I hope you make it down to the next one, Jeff. Come down to the LBL, get that discouragement out of the way.
Yeah, I know, man. There's some big smallies down there, and this next one I think is going to be big time. I was seeing some reports last week with the warmth. It's heating up.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. It's gonna come alive down there, and it's amazing fishing down there. That's why I went down there for another year. So
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it. But I'll catch you guys later, and thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and keep your lines tight. Till next time. Good night.
Good night.